All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our Atlassian Service Collection series focus on Jira Service Management webinar. We're so glad that you're able to join us today. My name is Brad Wood, and I'm a solutions consultant at Sketch Development and Atlassian Solution Partner. And if you're evaluating Jira Service Management, you may be wondering whether it can meet your needs today and continue to support you as your organization evolves. Well, in this webinar, we're going to talk through practical real-world examples about how teams are using JSM. We'll highlight the capabilities that allow it to scale as well, adding structure, automation, and visibility as your service environment becomes more complex. Jira Service Management is used by organizations of all shapes and sizes to improve and accelerate their ITSM processes. JSM is also now part of the service collection, and we will talk about what that is and what it includes. So a little bit about us at Sketch Development. We deliver consulting services, cloud services, and software development services, primarily oriented around lean, DevOps, and agile product management domains, all while focusing on the human being behind the computer. We're on a mission to transform complexity into clarity. Whether you need custom software, strategic consulting, or training, we want to deliver pragmatic solutions that allow your teams to work smarter and faster. We're also a solution partner of Atlassian and provide consulting and training services around the entire suite of Atlassian products, including Jira, Confluence, Jira Service Management, Jira Align, Atlassian Analytics, and Rovo. You can find more about who we are and the services we provide by visiting us at sketchdev.io. And so here's our agenda for today's webinar. This is going to be an overview of Atlassian Service Collection, but we're going to focus on Jira Service Management. Our topics are going to include what is the Atlassian Service Collection, what is Jira Service Management, who is it for, some of the key features, and then we're going to jump into the tool itself for some demos. So we're going to go through service requests, incident management, and change management. We'll see some other features of Jira Service Management during those demos. We'll talk a little bit about implementation strategy, and then we will have time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. So let's start with what is the Atlassian Service Collection. It's a collection of Atlassian service management tools designed to streamline your ITSM processes, customer service, and more. It's a bundle that includes Jira Service Management, Customer Service Management, Assets, and Rovo into one subscription to improve service delivery for both your internal and external teams. So just a little bit about each of those products. Again, we're going to focus on Jira Service Management today. That helps us bring our dev teams, our IT teams, and our business teams together to deliver great employee support and improve service resilience. Customer Service Management, which is a relatively new tool from Atlassian, helps level up our external support with AI teammates, complete customer context, and tighter feedback loops. This product was actually announced at Atlassian's Team 25 conference in Barcelona and is now available. And it's intended to support external customers, where JSM focuses and supports your internal customers. And one example of that is CSM can integrate with Amazon Connect, which allows for our support teams to manage voice calls. So just a little bit about the difference between JSM and customer service management. We've got assets, which gives us visibility into dependencies. So you can manage your assets and configuration items, quickly troubleshoot incidents, and minimize the risks of changes. And assets can be used to track a wide variety of objects, including hardware, software, physical locations, even people. We'll see some examples of that in today's presentation. And then we got Rovo, which is Atlassian's AI tool, which helps us improve experiences and productivity, from triaging and deflecting requests to resolving incidents, generating knowledge, and much more. And we'll see some of the Rovo features within Jira Service Management in today's webinar. So again, we're focusing on JSM. What is it? It's Atlassian's purpose-built platform for modern IT service management, enabling teams to efficiently manage service requests, incidents, problems, changes, and more. We're going to see examples of all of those different work types today. It's designed for the operational phase of service delivery, helping IT, DevOps, and business teams respond to requests, resolve issues, and deliver great service experiences. It helps make our service management transparent, structured, and collaborative, provides us a single location for request intake, triage, escalation, and resolution, helps our teams deliver fast, high-quality service to employees, customers, and stakeholders, helps us reduce bottlenecks and manual work through automation. And like all Atlassian tools, there are several tiers of JSM, and information on what is included with each tier can be found on Atlassian's website. So who is this product for? Well, to start, our IT service teams helping us manage, track, and resolve service requests, incidents, and changes. Our support agents helping respond to customer or employee requests, automate those repetitive tasks, and helping us ensure timely resolution. Our stakeholders and leadership helping gain visibility into service performance via SLAs and other key metrics for informed decision-making. And then organizations as a whole, especially organizations aiming to standardize ITSM practices, improve service delivery, and align IT with business objectives. I know I've said IT a lot, but JSM is not just for our IT teams. It can really be used by any service department within the organization. So HR, legal, marketing, procurement, really anyone who takes requests from internal or external customers can benefit from using this tool. And then a little bit about some of the key features. We're going to go through a lot of these in our demos today. So request and incident management, again, we've got a centralized request intake portal using custom forms and templates. Our queues, SLAs, and automation help us with the queues, automatically triaging and routing requests, SLA tracking, ensuring timely response and resolution. And then, like I've mentioned before, automating repetitive tasks, sending notifications automatically, automated escalations, etc. Through our customizable views and dashboards, we can build custom dashboards for different teams or different workflows. We've got real-time reporting helping us visualize key metrics, trends, and bottlenecks, and shareable insights so we can share specific dashboards or reports with our stakeholders, keeping everybody informed and aligned. Collaboration and stakeholder engagement. So we've got the ability to add internal and external comments on our tickets, and I'll show examples of those here in a little bit. We can set up approvals on our workflows and even set up multi-step approval processes to match your organization's needs. And then we've got a knowledge base integration through JSM, and we'll look at some examples of that today. Our additional ITSM features, and we're going to look at several of these again. Change management, helping us plan, track, and approve changes. Problem management, helping us identify and manage root causes of recurring issues. And then asset and configuration management, again, tracking our assets and configuration items, linking them to requests and changes for full context on our tickets. And then standardization and compliance. So we've got custom workflows helping us implement standardized ITSM processes. We've got audit trails and reporting, helping us maintain compliance, and then a holistic service strategy, which again will help us connect our incidents, our problems, our changes, and our assets for a comprehensive view of your service ecosystem. So that is kind of what we are going to talk about today. And we are going to start with our first demo now. And I'm going to head out to the JSM Help Center, and we are going to start talking about service requests. So a service request is really any formal request from a user for information, advice, access to a service, maybe new hardware, etc. Effective service management ensures that these requests are handled efficiently, consistently, and transparently, helping you deliver high quality support and maintain user satisfaction. And that's where JSM comes in, helping us streamline request intake, automating those workflows, maintain visibility, collaborating seamlessly, and measure and improve our performance. And before I talk about what we're seeing on the screen here, just a note, really with all of these features that we're going to talk about today, JSM is going to come with out-of-the-box configurations to get you up and running as quickly as possible. So that's going to include request types, work items, workflows, SLAs that have been pre-configured for the different ITSM processes. These are going to be fully customizable though. So you can really tailor any of those configuration items to meet your specific processes, your priorities, your different workflows, etc., within this tool. So let's go ahead and talk about the Help Center, and that's where I am here. This is JSM's customer-facing hub. So this is where your customers are going to really spend all of their time in Jira Service Management. This is where they can submit requests, receive updates on their requests, interact with agents, and a whole lot more. And I should mention that your customers are always free in Jira Service Management, and there's really no limit on how many customers you can have. So the first thing we kind of see here, and by the way, I've customized this Help Center landing page a little bit to show our sketch development custom branding, and you can customize this yourself. I've added just an example of an announcement banner here, so IT is aware of the website outage. You don't have to have this present, but if you are having an active, let's say, incident or some kind of change windows coming up or something that people need to be aware of, you can add that on the homepage as just a banner announcement. And then right below that, we see this search bar. And this is where, as a customer, we can search for the proper request type we need to submit for what we need. This can also surface knowledge base articles. So for example, if I just type the word password in here, I'm going to see a couple things come up here. We see resources, how to reset your password, and then I see a request form. And this is just looking at this keyword that I've typed in here and then serving up some options for me. I'm going to open this knowledge base article in another tab. And your knowledge base articles are powered by Confluence, which is another Atlassian tool. You've got a lot of different text formatting options here. You can add images or really any other content in here that is helpful for your customers to have to hopefully be able to solve their own problems. So in this case, how to reset your password. So I've got all the steps here on how to reset my password. I've even got a link to that same request type here. So as a customer, if these steps aren't helping me, I can just click directly onto this link and go to the request type I need. I can also give some feedback on this article. So I can say if this article helped me or if it did not, and this is reportable on the back end of JSM. So it really helps you measure the effectiveness of your knowledge base articles based on the votes that you get. But the idea here is ticket deflection and just helping me solve my own problem. And again, if that hasn't solved my problem, I can go back to the Help Center and find a request type to submit. Under the search bar, we see portals, and we've got two different portals here. These are a one-to-one match with spaces in Jira Service Management. If you've been working in Jira or Confluence or any other Atlassian tool, you're familiar with the concept of spaces, formerly known as projects. Basically, every ticket in JSM is going to live in a space. They're just containers for tickets. In this case, we've just got two set up here, but if you've got more of those, you would see those here as long as you, the customer, has the proper permissions to see those spaces. So let's click into the demo ITSM space. And we see a couple things here. We see a couple groups of request types. So we see request forms and then report a problem. And you can customize these to say whatever you want. Within those, we see the actual request types. So request a change, request new hardware, etc. And then over on the right-hand side, we see the virtual service agent. This is a Rovo powered solution to allow your customers to, like any other AI tool, use natural language prompts to find what they need. And depending on what you are asking for help with, the virtual service agent can even submit requests for you as well. We see some suggested prompts here. But in this case, I'm just going to close that for now. And I'm going to submit a ticket manually here. So I'll go into my request forms group, and here are those actual request types. If you ever need to navigate away from this or back where you were, you've got clickable links up here. You've got some drop-down menus to change the group. But I'm going to go to request new software. And from this, I can also navigate to a different request type if I click the wrong one, for example. So I'll fill out all these fields really quickly. You see required fields are marked with an asterisk. You can set any of your fields required or none of them. depending on what you need from your customers. This raise this request on behalf of, I could submit this on behalf of somebody else if I need to. In this case, I'll just submit it for me. Summarize the request. I'm going to say, I need Power BI access because I'm requesting new software. It's going to serve up some suggested articles again, kind of similar to what we saw on the Help Center homepage. In this case, neither of these are going to really help me because I just need access to software. And then I've got a banner here. Manager approval is required for all software requests. And we'll see what that looks like within this process here in just a second. In my drop-down field here, this is actually an example of an assets field, and we'll see what this looks like on the back end and what these objects actually are and how they're configured in just a second. But I'll select Power BI. I'm going to say I need this access by the end of the week and describe how the software will be used. I will use this for reporting. So I've got my form filled out and I'll click send. And as a customer now, this is the view that I will see for a submitted ticket. Here's that summary I added. We can see I raised this request today. I can collapse this section if I need to. Some of the other fields I filled out are right here. In the activities section, we see a couple things. We can see that this request requires approval, and I'll get some information on that approval when it is provided. And I can also add a comment here to the agents working the ticket. And this is a paragraph style field from Jira. So there's tons of text formatting. You can add additional attachments if those are helpful for your request, or images, maybe screenshots, etc. In this case, I can just add a quick comment. So I could please update my request. Just click save. And then now my comment's been added to the ticket, and we'll see that on the back end here in just a second. On the right-hand side, I see some other information. So the status that this ticket is currently in, it is pending approval. That will change once the ticket moves along in its workflow. I can turn notifications on or off. I see the name of the request type here. I could share this with other people. So maybe somebody else in the organization needs to know or get updates on my request for Power BI access. I could just share that with them here. And then pending approval, one approval needed. Again, we will see what that looks like here in just a second. And then before we go to the back end, I want to show just a couple other things in the Help Center. So if I click on my profile here, I have some other access to admin settings here, but your customers are going to see requests and approvals. So if I go to requests, this is going to be basically a list style view of all the different tickets that I have submitted via this Help Center. You can search here. You can filter on specific statuses. You can filter on all tickets, maybe just tickets that were created by you, or maybe where you are a participant, or filter on the request type. These are all clickable links as well to go back to those tickets. And then in the approvals section, if I had any tickets that I need to approve, I would see in those, or rather in that section. Let's go back to the ticket I just submitted though. And because I also have agent access, I can click view work item. And this is going to take me into the back end of Jira. We're going to talk a little bit about the left-hand navigation and some of these different menus here in just a little bit. But for now, I'm going to collapse this just so we have a little bit more real estate to view this. And this is what the ticket is going to look like on the back end for your agent. All this is completely customizable as well. So your different fields, your field types, where they're placed in this view or in this physical space can all be customized. But we've got the summary up here at the top. I need Power BI access. I've got some quick links for some other actions I can take on these, and we'll look at some of those on our incidents and changes here in just a second. The description field, or rather the description I provided, is stored in the description field here. The other fields I filled out, some of that information is right here in this attached forms section. I talked about comments earlier, and here's where that comment is. As a customer, I added that here. As an agent, I have a couple other options though. I can add an internal note if we need to maybe discuss something as the service team that should not be customer facing. So I'll just say example note. and click save. This is going to be highlighted in this kind of yellow color, visually indicating to you and making it very obvious that's an internal note. And if you reply to that, maybe you are only communicating with the agents and you want to keep any like sensitive information, anything like that, as an internal note. You've also got this Rovo powered summarize comments. So maybe I'm taking over a request for somebody who's unexpectedly out of the office or on vacation, and I want to get just a quick update on what has been taking place on this ticket in the comments section. I can have Rovo just give me a comment summary here and get up to date really quickly. We talked about the approvals for this ticket. So again, it's in the pending approval status. If I click this status dropdown, we can see I don't have permission to transition this work item because the approval has not been provided yet. So if I go to the view workflow, this is an out-of-the-box workflow. You can customize this to your specific needs. So your different statuses and the transitions that are available in the workflow can be customized. You can create new ones, you can rename them, etc. But this pending approval status is going to have one of two transitions available. So if this ticket is approved, it's going to move to in progress. And if it is declined, it will move to canceled. So let's take a look at how that's going to work. Via automation, we've added Elizabeth as the approver for this ticket. So Elizabeth is my manager, and we'll see where that data is coming from in our assets database in just a second. But for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to add myself as an approver. You can absolutely restrict this, by the way, to where you can not allow the person who submitted the ticket to approve their own ticket, which is probably a best practice. But for our demo, I'm just going to approve my own ticket. So once I've been added to this approvers field, now we can see this request requires my approval. So I'm just going to click approve. It's going to move it to that in progress status. Our customer is going to see that on the in the help center, and they'll probably get an email notification as well. And so now this is in the in progress status. And like I said, if I declined that, that would go to a different status. Your service requests can have SLAs, and your SLAs can be different depending on your work type or some other type of criteria. In this case, we've just got time to first response and time to resolution. And when we go to the incident section, you'll see that these time targets are a little bit different. These are just out of the box SLAs, but again, they are fully customizable. And then here's some other details on this particular ticket. The one thing I do want to show is this requested application. So this is the object that I selected when I submitted this ticket. As an agent, I can see some additional details here that were not customer facing. So particularly this licenses available attribute. We're not displaying this to the customer because it's not really relevant to them, but it is relevant to me as an agent or maybe an approver to see, do we even have enough licenses available for me to grant this to somebody? You can also click this object graph icon, and this is also accessible from the assets database. But we can see now, I've been added as a licensed user via automation, and automation also reduced the number of licenses available when it added me. So before we only had 25, or excuse me, we had 25. Now we only have 24 because I am a licensed user on this object. You can see that these two objects are connected, and this will make a little bit more sense when we look at the assets database. You can also access some other information here, like an activity summary for the object. So this is basically everything that's happened in the lifetime of this particular object. So you can see here, automation added me as a licensed user. It reduced the number of licenses available, and so on and so forth. And linked work items, this is basically a list of any work items or tickets where this object shows in a custom field. There's some filtering options here as well, and you can even add attachments to your objects. So speaking of objects, let's actually go to the assets database and see a little bit more about how objects are configured and stored and organized, etc. So all I did was expand the sidebar, and I'm going to go down here to my assets section. And here's the home page in the assets section. This is just kind of a overview of everything in our assets database. And like I mentioned before, an asset is really going to be any resource such as hardware, software, equipment, facilities that your organization owns, manages, or relies on to deliver services. And effective asset management is essential for maintaining visibility, optimizing usage, reducing costs, ensuring compliance across the organization. And this is JSM's tool to help us manage all that. And again, there are some out-of-the-box configurations in here. So just a couple of asset types, but you've got customizable schemas. All of this can be tailored to your organization's specific requirements. You can add custom attributes, relationships, and then some of those automation rules like we saw in our last demo. So assets are going to be organized into schemas, and schemas are really just collections of objects. So if I go to my schemas section, these are going to be our different schemas that contain both object types and then the actual objects themselves. So you can see we've got a couple built out here. We've got employees, equipment, software, and then services is one of the out-of-the-box asset types, and that will come into play in our next two demos here in just a second. So we're going to go into our employees schema, and we've only got one object type in this schema. You can see it right here. It's also called employees. We've got two employees built out, myself and Elizabeth, my manager. You can see Elizabeth has been set as my manager on my object type. Our object types our objects are all going to have unique keys as well, just like Jira work items. So you can see the key here, and here's the name of the object. Here are all the different attributes that we have configured on these. So I like to think of these as kind of like fields for the object, similarly to fields on a work item. So again, the name, we're tying this to my Atlassian user. Elizabeth's my manager. I have a laptop. That is this object here. And then I now have Power BI because my request was approved. And your attributes can be links to other objects as well. That's kind of what we're seeing over here. So our different references, both inbound and outbound. My object type is not used on any work items, but we see that here. We've also got attachments here if we want to add that. You can also change this view to more of a table style view. So this list view. So if you'd rather see that, you've just got columns for all your different attributes. And then each row is an object. And then let's go back to our schemas and we can look at software, and we'll go to Power BI. And so now, like we saw before, the number of licenses available has been reduced. I'm a licensed user. Here's those linked work items again. And you can see that this object has been used on quite a few work items, and it's got those same references here as well. So the references can go one way or they can go both ways, depending on how your attributes have been configured. Before we move on from this section, we're going to go back to our assets homepage, and we're going to go to dashboards. And the dashboards are going to be reporting specific for your assets database. So if I click on laptop inventory, for example, here's just a simple dashboard that I've configured. Just a couple different chart types, just want to display some of the different options that are available in the dashboards. This was not out of the box. This is something I configured. If we hover over the pie chart and the bar chart, we've got some functionality that helps us isolate what we're looking at to help us maybe interpret this data a little bit easier. We've got a table with all of the laptops in our inventory with links to the actual objects here. And all these charts can be reordered, resized, and so on and so forth. You've also got filters up here at the top. So I can filter on the status, for example, of these different laptops, which will then apply to all charts in the dashboard. So that's our service request and assets demo. When you tie these together, your requests can automatically drive approvals via automation, and that can all be based on real asset data in your database. JSM is designed to help us keep things simple on the customer side and then connect all of the relevant data on the back end. Let's move on to our next demo, and we are going to go back to the Help Center, and we're going to submit an incident ticket. So I'm going to go to report a problem and report a system problem. An incident is really going to be any unplanned interruption or reduction in the quality of a service that negatively impacts business operations or user experience. And JSM provides a robust incident management feature. It's going to empower your teams to efficiently respond to, manage, and resolve incidents. And just like service requests, there are a number of out-of-the-box configurations. Again, a work item type, workflow, SLAs, queues, but we can customize all of those for our team's specific needs. So as a customer, I'm going to go ahead and submit this incident. So again, raise this request on behalf of, I'll just leave as myself. And I'm going to say website is not working. As the summary, I'll just say not sure, but it's here in the affected services field. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the asset database, but I'm going to select website as the service that's affected here. I could add an attachment if I need to, maybe a screenshot, something like that. And then I'm going to say, how urgently does this need to be fixed? We'll say critical. And how big of an impact is this? We will say extensive, widespread, because it's the website and that affects a lot of people. So we'll send our request. Looks pretty similar to our service request. We can add those comments again. We see the status here. This is not requiring an approval, so it's in a different status. And now let's look at it on the back end as an agent. So it's a different issue type or work item type. This is the incident work item type. The one we submitted before was a service request with approvals work type. Here's that summary again. Here's the description that I added. And there's some cool features up here at the top that are related specifically to incidents. So the first one here, investigate deployments and add them as potential causes to this incident. So if I click on this magnifying glass icon, if you have your CI/CD tool connected to JSM, so in this case, we're using Bitbucket, you can investigate deployments related to that same service that's been selected on your incident, and not only have access to those, but you can select them as a potential cause of your incident and then add that to the ticket, really just notifying the response team that there were some deployments recently related to this service. We think maybe that's what's causing this outage. In this case, I'm not going to add that here, but that's what you would do with this feature. You can also find resources. I'll show what this looks like from a different starting point here in just a second. So we selected the website in that affected service field on the ticket itself. And like I mentioned, this is also in our assets database, but this is an out-of-the-box asset type and feature. So I can expand this a little bit and get some more information on this service. And I can see there's 7 open incidents on this service. So that's quite a lot. That probably indicates to me as the agent that there is something serious going on with the website if we have so many open incidents on this particular service. And we've got some other attributes here as well, like tier, and we could add a description to this if we want to. Urgency and impact are the things that I added on the ticket as well. And we're using automation to set the priority for this ticket. So it's looking at those 2 fields and saying, if urgency is X and impact is Y, then set priority to, in this case, high. We've got, I failed to mention this really quickly, but you can click this icon as well to view the open incidents on your affected service as well. And this is a feature native to the services object type. If I scroll back down here a little bit, we see changes on affected services and asset objects. So let's open this up a little bit. And we can see within the last 3 months, there have been several changes related to the website. So this ticket, for example, going back a little bit further, and we can go even further. There's been tons of website changes here. So maybe these are what is potentially causing our incident. We can just click on these directly from this and find out what that change was, when it was made, who made it, what the potential impact of that change was, and we could link it to our incident, kind kind of connecting the dots there, saying this change may be or one of the causes of this incident. Our related resources section, so I talked about that just a second ago. We can expand this. Rovo is going to search JSM and find incidents, knowledge articles, PIRs, and other work items related to this incident. So it's going to look at keywords and the service and all kinds of stuff. So you can see here several different website down tickets. Here's a PIR from a previous incident. Here is a related article, website troubleshooting guide, and I'll show what this is here in just a second as well. Powered by Rovo, and I should mention most Rovo features are going to have an ability for you to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that feedback goes directly to Atlassian to help them improve the tool. So I do recommend you providing feedback there. Our playbooks are going to be kind of like step-by-step instructions and can include automation rules that guide your agents in resolving tickets or other processes. Similar to SOPs, they can include several different component types. So in this case, let's expand this one, how to restore the website. This is just a simple example with 2 steps, but we see initial checks. So it's instructing me to do these 3 things. And when I've done them, I can just mark that as done. And then it's suggesting if multiple incidents have occurred and the root cause is not resolved, use this automation to create a problem ticket. So if I click run, it's actually going to run an automation rule, which is going to create a problem ticket, link it to this incident, copy some of the values from the fields, and that is just going to help us create that problem in our system just a little bit quicker and easier. In our comments section, we have the ability to add internal notes again on this incident, but we also have notify stakeholders. And stakeholders are going to be people who need to be updated on an incident, but they aren't necessarily the agents actively working on the ticket. So what we would do is add them to the stakeholders field, and then we can click notify stakeholders. And when we add that comment, those users will get an update. Over on the right-hand side, we can see here this workflow is very different than the workflow we saw before, maybe less statuses. It doesn't require an approval. We can move a little bit more freely through this workflow as well. Our SLAs are a little bit different too. So we can see like time to resolution, for example, I believe was 80 hours on our service request. In this case, for the incident, we want this to be resolved a lot quicker. So we're just going 24 hours here. And the suggestions section is really helpful as well. This is again powered by Rovo. We can see it's giving me a summary of this incident. So it's telling me it's high priority, website's not loading correctly, who reported it, the status, the affected service, and when it was created. So that's, again, it's just really a very high level summary of the incident. It's got some suggested actions for me as well. So similar incidents had me as an assignee, so I could just click add and it would add me as the assignee on this ticket. Add me as a responder because I've handled similar incidents. I could do that, or I could just dismiss it. And then create problem ticket. So it's saying this incident is of major impact, create a problem ticket to investigate further. So Rovo can create our problem ticket for us here. So I could do that. We'll look at that in more detail here in just a little bit. And then some of the other fields here, responders. So it added me because I'm the assignee as a responder to this ticket. And then it also added this demo team. So you can set up responder teams for your services. So in this case, the demo team is the responding team for the website. And it added this team to the responders field automatically. This is also going to create an alert in operations, which is JSM's alerting and event monitoring tool. So this team is going to get alerts sent to their email, maybe a text message, even a voice call, letting them know there is a problem with the website and they need to start working on a resolution. And you can add more responders here as well. Some other fields we have here. So you can create a Slack, a Teams, or a Zoom channel from your incidents if you want to get a bunch of people together in a single channel related to this incident to really focus on coming up with a resolution. You can do that right here. Here's that stakeholders field I talked about earlier. And then We can toggle this as a major incident. This is going to add it to a specific queue in JSM, and we can combine that with automation to send an email or maybe a Slack or a Teams message to our major incident team, getting the right people notified as quickly as possible. So let's say we've resolved this incident and we want to conduct a post-incident review, which is really best practice after an incident has been resolved. That helps us capture what happened, when it happened, the steps taken to resolve the issue, who was involved, and it helps create a comprehensive record that can be referenced in the future. So again, JSM is going to have a PIR dedicated work type, workflow, queues. This is out-of-the-box functionality. These are typically handled on the back end or are not accessible from the customer-facing help desk. That just helps ensure that sensitive or technical details, number one, are documented and reviewed by the appropriate internal teams, but also not visible to customers if they don't need to have that visibility. So there's a couple different ways we can add a PIR on our ticket. Easiest way is to just click this button up here, add post incident review. So I can click that. You can see that it's selected the space and the work type that I need here. I can change the request type here. I would give it a summary, and then it's going to auto link to my incident that I created it from. In this case, reviews this particular incident. But let's just go ahead and look at one that is already open. So this is a PIR that I created a while ago, and there are some custom fields on here like investigation reason, impact. You can see that it's set that same affected service here. The primary incident is this incident, which is what this was created from. We've got this timeline section here as well. So on the primary incident, we can click on this. And here's kind of a history of that particular incident. So it was created on the 28th of January. Some automations ran, some fields were changed, etc. And then the PIR was created as well. So you can access all that information directly from the PIR, which is really helpful. And I really like this incident summary section too. So this is just, again, a bunch of information from the primary incident. When was it created? When did it end? How long did it take to resolve? Who was assigned the priority, the responders, and again, that affected service. And so you could also automate this whole process. So let's say anytime a critical priority incident is resolved, automatically create a PIR and link it to the incident. And then really quickly, before we move on to change management, I want to talk about problem management. So we talked about a couple different ways to create our problem tickets, and one way would just to be use Rovo's suggestion here. You can also automate this process. So I've got just an example of an automation that we can run here. So create problem ticket, and that's going to run in the background and actually create a problem ticket. Or if we use Rovo's functionality here, it does some cool stuff too. It can suggest a summary for your problem ticket. So I can click insert and it's created that summary for me. I can click insert on the description as well, and it's got a link back to the incident. And then I can also link it to the incident through this linked work items section. Let's go to a problem ticket really quick. We can go to our open problems queue. I think this is the one that I just created. So it's got some custom fields again here as well that are not on the incidents. I like this section as well, this similar request where Rovo is again going to find similar work items, and you can link those directly to this problem ticket, and you can filter by resolved or open. So that's it for incident management, PIRs, and problems. Our incidents are here to get the right people involved quickly to find resolutions. PIRs help us capture what actually happened, and then problem tickets are designed to further investigate that root cause and prevent the same issue from coming back again. We can connect all these things in JSM, and it's really built to help our teams move quickly and get better over time. Our last demo is going to be change management. We're going to go back to the Help Center, and I'm just going to request a quick change. And we'll just say website update, and we'll say update to logo. That affected service, again, is going to be the website. And I'll say impact is going to be large and urgency is high. I could add an attachment. I've got a bunch of fields that are not required here, so I'm not going to fill those out. But I am going to add the plan to start and plan to end. So I want this to start, let's say, tomorrow at midnight, and to finish tomorrow. I want this done by, let's say, 6 a.m. So we'll submit the change. And here's that same customer-facing view. It's in the review status. I'm going to review my work item. And this is just a single change work item type that comes out of the box, but you can configure multiple change types if you need to. So for your normal changes, your standard changes, your emergency changes, or you can denote those in a custom field. That's just what we're doing here. You see change type normal, but you can configure those multiple change types with multiple workflows, multiple queues, etc. And they can even be different request types in the help center. So if I come up here to the top, this has got a schedule change function. And this is just a simple look at the change calendar. We can see I scheduled that for tomorrow from midnight to 6 a.m. We've already got a change scheduled then, so maybe I don't actually want to do this change then. I could just move it to maybe a different time. And it's actually going to change the values in my plan start and plan end fields on this if I click save here. So this is one way to see if you have any conflicts with your change that you're trying to implement. You can also come down here to operations and then look at the change calendar in a more detailed manner. So there's a couple conflicts here. Again, that one that I just scheduled is conflicting with something else. There's also a freeze window configured on Thursday. So we really don't want any changes to be enacted that day. So that's another indication that I should probably not enable that change at that time. Let's go back to my change ticket. Here's those impact and urgency fields that I provided. That is automating our change risk. In this case, we're just setting medium. It's significant and it's high, but it's not critical. So we're just saying the risk of this change is medium. So an agent's received this request and it's in the review status. Let's say I move it to authorize. This status is now requiring an approval. We've automatically added this change approvers group as the approvers. Your approvers can be single users or groups, by the way. And in this case, we just need one person from each group to approve. That's me. I'm going to approve this. Now we're in awaiting implementation, letting us know that this has been approved. And I'm just going to say, let's go ahead and implement this. So we've moved it into implementing. I'm just going to give this ticket a quick refresh. We scroll down to our linked work items. We see that this ticket is now linked to a software development ticket. And I skipped over this section. I'll just talk about it really quickly. There's a risk summary on your change ticket. So you can see it found 2 conflicts, including that freeze window we talked about before. You can also see upcoming changes that are related to the same service or that freeze window here in this section. And we can see there's also a number of incidents on that same service. Maybe we don't want to make any more changes because there's active incidents. But moving back to this, so now we have a software development ticket linked to our change. So if we're actually going to implement this change, we've got a software ticket for our development team in a different space. So you can copy fields from this. It's linked to the change ticket as well. We're saying, okay, team, we are ready for you to update the website to the new logo. So let's go ahead and go over to Bitbucket. We're in our website repository, and I'm just going to make any update here. So I'll just make an update to this file and click commit. And then in the commit message, I'm going to say updating per DSDS-47, which is the key of the software development ticket. And that is going to drive a couple different things. We've got, again, this pipeline is, or rather, this Bitbucket instance is connected to JSM. It's going to drive some automations here as well. So we can see that commit is in progress, and this may take just a second to update. And we'll give it just a second. And maybe more than just a second, but it should be finished here momentarily. All right, so now we see that commit is successful. Let's go back to our software development ticket and refresh that. And we can see via automation, this ticket was moved to done. And in a few moments, that commit message will also be linked in this development panel here. Sometimes that does take a minute or two to populate. But not only is our software development ticket done, our change request is done as well. So automation did a couple of things there. It said that commit was successful, move the software ticket to done. If your commit failed, you could automate that to move to a different status or maybe back to open, something like that. And then the other piece of that automation said when the linked software development ticket is done on our change, move our change to completed. So really the kind of end-to-end process of that particular change. So the original request, the software ticket that implemented it, and even the commit in Bitbucket are all linked together, giving us that complete picture of what happened, when it happened, who made the changes, etc. All that information is stored in JSM. And our changes can start simple, but calculating risk, gaining approvals, looking at the schedule, conflicts, all of that's going to be handled automatically in JSM. And if we have new incidents that show up later, this change has been completed. And because we are using that same affected service, if there's another incident on the website down the road, all of that is going to be linked together as well. JSM tying all of that together in one specific tool. All right. We got a few minutes left. I want to talk a little bit about our JSM implementation strategy here at Sketch. So once you've landed on a tool like JSM, that's when the real work is going to begin. So figuring out how to roll it out in a way that actually fits your organization. And that's where we come in. We bring a practical, experience-driven approach based on years of implementing and configuring Atlassian products in real environments. And at a high level, an implementation strategy could look something like this. So we would define our services and our intake processes first. So what services are we supporting? How are users going to request help? That's when we configure our service request types, our portals, our request forms. Then we establish those core ITSM workflows, so incident management, problems, changes, with workflows that reflect how your teams actually work, not necessarily just the out-of-the-box defaults. We'll layer in automation and SLAs, so automating handoffs, approvals, notifications, and configuring those SLAs to set clear expectations and measure performance. And then we'll expand into additional capabilities like assets, operations, and even integrations with other tools as your implementation matures and teams are ready to go deeper into the tool. So we got a little time for Q&A. I don't see anything in the chat currently. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop one or two of those in here, and I can move on to our next section while we're waiting for some of those questions to come in. Do want to talk about some of our other upcoming webinars. So we got a number of webinars. They're not all on Atlassian tools. Some of them are. Our next one is going to be Find Your Innovation Budget Hidden in Your Cloud Spend. So this is going to be hosted by Ryan Jensen and Dan Gower. And some of the things they'll discuss is learning how to evaluate your cloud spend, identifying your blind spots, identifying opportunities for savings, efficiency gains, and even risk reduction. And you can sign up for that at sketchdev.io/events. All of our webinars are listed there, by the way. We've got Fast Code, Slow Everything Else, the DevX problem with Joe Top. And we'll learn how to quantify what poor DevX experience costs your business, how to measure developer productivity without surveillance culture, And then we'll have some real world examples of DevX improvements that actually work. And then lastly, reclaim your roadmap with Jira Product Discovery. That's going to be with James Nippert and myself, Brad Wood, and we are going to define the differences between taking requests and actual product management. We'll learn how to evaluate incoming work without analysis paralysis and how to integrate Jira Product Discovery into your product management and road mapping processes. So again, you can sign up for any of those at sketchdev.io/events. And lastly, if you want to connect with us, there's a number of different ways. So sketchdev.io, again, is the website. We've got our phone number up here on the screen, our address. We are based here in St. Louis, Missouri. Here's my email and LinkedIn. If you want to contact me directly, if you got questions about Jira Service Management, the service collection, anything in the Atlassian ecosystem, if you'd like to set up a demo of any of these tools, would be more than happy to do so. So feel free to reach out to me via email or via LinkedIn. And again, those contact methods are right here. So thanks for joining today. I hope you found this informative, and I hope you learned how JSM can enhance your service delivery and support processes, ensuring efficient customer interactions, all within the Atlassian ecosystem. And like I mentioned, please feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you via either of those methods. And then definitely visit us at sketchdev.io for more information on what we do, the services we provide, and then all the info on those upcoming webinars. So thanks for attending today and have a great day.